glued to that. Look at that. That's crazy. Look at this. Guess it's just that passenger rear maybe right there that's holding it just a little bit. Jeez. Oh, wow, look at that. Am I going to slow crawl out of that? Oh my gosh. I thought for sure I was going to have to punch it when that right rear kind of lost its hook. Wow. Impressive right there. So the Redcat Ascent 18 has been one of the best bang for the buck mini crawlers since its release. If you got in early and got one at $100, you basically stole it. Even at $120, they're a great deal. One of my only complaints with this truck is just the narrow design of the chassis up front and rear, but the rear doesn't matter so much unless you're trying to go rear steer with them. But even up front on the stock setup, you bottom out on that servo right there. You're almost getting full travel, but always hitting that servo. As soon as you go modding one of these things, you have a lot of issues. And this one here, it's really the only thing left that I deal with on this truck because it is still on the stock chassis. I'm just bottoming out on that servo. I've grinded the ears off. I've did quite a bit to try to help that. And I get almost full travel, but same as stock, I'm still bottoming out on that servo. Now early on, I took one of these trucks and mounted it on an SCX24 chassis from Orange Crawlers. And it worked out pretty well, actually. Besides the rear shock mounting was kind of lacking. So now Orange Crawlers actually designed a chassis just for the Ascent 18. So today we're going to be swapping this one over to their new chassis for the Ascent 18, and then we can kind of compare it to stock and take it out, run it, see what we think about it. So let's get started with the build. Here's a quick look at the directions that you get. As you can see, very detailed, laid out. There's a lot of screws and pieces to this. Sometimes that's intimidating to people, but when you've got good directions like this, not really too hard to follow. You've got your item list. I mean, this is like top of the line directions right here. So should be pretty simple to throw together. You can see I've kind of laid it out here. All of these pieces are what you will bolt together. But this is your general layout. These kind of go on the sides, something like that. And then we've got nice both side sliders, a 10-degree angled skid, I believe it is, that is very flat, body mounting front and rear with screw downs and an extra screw down, all of our screws and everything we need to make this happen. So first I'm just going to kind of bolt this stuff together, get this chassis built, and then we'll just start swapping it over. So I've got a good start on this thing. You can see, I just wanted to show you, in case you're like me and not real good at following directions, these are just kind of like spacers between your lower section of chassis and your upper shock mounts. They just go in between here. You've only got two different lengths of screws, a shorter and a longer. The short ones go in all of these spots with a nut on the back side. And then the skid, you just make sure it fits where it's angled the way it's supposed to be. It's going to be very nice. We've got a really nice angle on the skid, clean both sides. I left this loose so I can kind of get to this bottom link here. So once this is together, you will just have to kind of pull these two screws and take a slider off to adjust your lower links and some of your uppers. If you're mounting down in here, you'll have to pull the slider as well, or at least loosen, take this one out, loosen this one, kind of roll it down. You know, you can do one at a time, but once this is together and the braces are in, it'll stay together. So you can just pull a slider, just like you do on a stock truck, basically, for the uppers. So not a big deal. Quick note here, if you're running the mini Komodo like I am here with it facing forward, you will want to flip these screws around. I had them in like this with the nut on the inside because that's how it's supposed to be, but the motor wouldn't clear. I was hitting really this side here because this sits just a little off center, but I just went ahead and flipped all of them, so I had plenty of clearance in there. And I tightened everything down just to make sure it was going to fit properly. It does fit well, just like that. Look at it. That looks so good. Sitting down in there nice and low. And that motor's actually tucked in there very well. So excited to get this thing together. And just like that, it's all finished up. Well, almost. Still got to clean this body up and paint it. But I was just kind of playing around with getting it to fit well on here. I did sort of change the mounting a little bit. So originally, you can see I popped a hole here before I was ready. That's just the way I work. I'm always in a rush and just wanted to get a body on this because I'm so excited to run it. Anyways, so I did end up moving the mount forward in the directions it was kind of back here. So that's where I had it originally. But then I realized that this body dropping down back here made my body sit too high for these sliders. And I wanted my body to sit down around the sliders. So I moved the mount itself forward. And that let me mount it here where this body kind of rises a bit. Now I had to slit it to go around the chassis rails here. And then on the front, I'm actually going to do Velcro once this is painted. But I made a little drop down for the front mount just because it had a little lip. So it mounted flush here, had a little lip that stuck up. And then once I put the Velcro on it, I was up. And so my body would sit kind of like this. And I just didn't like it. I wanted it all the way down. Could have used the screw down on the front, but I wasn't a big fan of having that on the front and the rear. Back here, I thought it just kind of would blend in with the bed. So I just kind of did my own thing there. You can totally mount this up the way it's meant to be, and it works perfectly. Had no issues, no binding, links don't hit the motor, anything like that. I am running the motor forward, the mini Komodo there. And I've got plenty room for the links to clear. Like I'm not even really close. So I think we should be able to use all of our adjustments. If you go to this very top hole on this upper link, you may get some rubbing. I didn't try that, but there's quite a bit of room there. So no issues with hitting the links. I'm running a longer servo on here and I'm good on my travel. When I did that, changing this front mount, if you mount this mount the way it's meant to be, it's fine. I didn't even have any issues, even though this is a longer servo, no issues with that. So as far as a stock swap over or most even custom builds, you're not gonna have much of an issue. My main thing was just I reworked a few things to get the body to fit how I wanted it. I love this chassis already. The layout of it, I love the angle of the skid. It's just enough that you've got a really good angle on the skid, but we can still have a body and look kind of normal, you know? So I think it's just gonna work out really well. I absolutely love this feature here. So it comes with this Velcro strap and he actually has a slit in this. You can run it through. There's one on each side, so I don't know if, I gotta screw my transmission out. Squirrel. There's one on each side, so I don't know if it's just made so that you can mount it on whichever side you want. I actually pinched it in between here as well. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be. And then I just left it here because it pinches between that slider so tight it's not going anywhere. And then you can fit a nice 3S pack in here. So I've got the Galaxy 180s. People always ask me what 3S I run. These Galaxy are really good. They have lots of different sizes. If you prefer larger, you can go larger. The 250 is just slightly longer. It actually works on here just fine as well. So you're gonna get more runtime out of the 250 versus the 180. I'll have to try to time and see what sort of runtime I'm getting out of this. I never pay any attention because I have like 3 or 4 of these and I just, boom, throw one in, take one out. And so I really don't pay any attention when I'm out running what sort of runtime I'm getting. Here's a 120. You really don't gain much with the 120 because it's so thick, like it's not much difference in size. So in my opinion, unless this is just the shape that's gonna work better for you, I always just try to go the 180. I bought like one of each to kind of see what they, how they fit. The 180 and the 250 are the ones I use the most often. The 250 in something like this that I'm not so worried about performance, you know, I get a lot of run time and just it fits perfectly. Go down to the 180s for a little more performance. And obviously I was thinking the 120, but like I said, there's not much difference there. So I do really like these packs though. I've had better overall luck with these than the Palm Beach bots. I went to these Galaxies and haven't looked back. So I'm running the FuryTech integration, the Python Pro integration in here. The cool thing about the integration is if you have the Hobby Plus Arctos 6x6, this transmitter, really nice transmitter, will bind right up to it. So you can run that transmitter with this receiver ESC combo. So you see I've got that all bound up, ready to roll. Nice and smooth. So we're gonna take this thing out and crawl it in just a sec, but I wanna take a quick look at this versus stock because we are sitting a little lower, and I think you can just tell the transmission and stuff is down in the chassis a little more, and overall just works out better. You don't have these super high bat wings sticking up here that you got to deal with. The chassis itself doesn't stick up much, you know, past the transmission, versus over here we're quite a bit higher. And then the main thing is we're shorter in this front, so you don't have to deal with that right there hitting your servo all the time. See the ears on that, just always hitting. So this, like I said, before I did this mount, there was, you know, no chance even that it was going to hit, and now we're clearly in the clear there. So that's several things that I like better. Lots of shock mounting options. Stock chassis is not terrible, but you can't lay them back near as far as I got them laid back here. And then in the rear, we've got tons of options. And then here versus stock, I did do the Injora high clearance links on the bottom. So I usually just leave the stock uppers because it's plastics, less weight, so we're lighter. But you'll see the angled skid, the clearance we're gonna get out of this thing with those links. Look at that, very nice compared to that, which is not terrible for a stock truck, but very nice clearance on this with the angled skid. So that helps you when you bump up onto something, kind of slide off of it, right? So thrilled to have this together, ready to go run it. This is running brass inner and outer portal covers, brass steering link on the bottom here, brass front and rear diff covers. That's all of the weight that we've got going on. We've got some new Louis tires. That pretty much covers it. Brand new servo, video coming on that as well, but we'll maybe kind of talk about our thoughts on it. And overall, this all just went together very clean. If you're swapping over a stock truck, you're not gonna have any issues. Just take your time and you'll be good. Oh, dude, okay, you guys gotta check this out. So with the tiniest bit of work, this body fits so well. Only thing I did was I did grind out the lip on the windshield here. Now, if I finish this body like I did that one, I was gonna do something a little different with it. I'm gonna take this tinted windshield out anyways, so that would get rid of that lip. But just to show you guys how easy it is, you can just cut that lip out. You'll have to do something a little different here, but I have messaged Orange Crawlers and trying to see if they'd be interested in making a tab on the slider here to sort of run this screw into. So this drops on there. Look how clean that would be. So if you had this, if you had a little mounting tab right there to just kind of screw that body into, it would hold it in place. Maybe you could do Velcro or magnet up front, but it's gonna clear pretty well. Look at that. That's basically sitting perfect right there. How good does that look? Obviously it's not sitting level because it's not fully mounted, but I just threw that piece of Velcro inside of there to show you guys how well that fits, but that looks freaking awesome. And you've got a super capable performance chassis. So hopefully that's something that will be in the works coming soon. If not, you can definitely make it work yourself very easily. It may be something I do at some point, but for now, I'm going to throw this goofy looking thing on and go run it like it sits. So I ended up really liking this body on here. I tossed it on just because the clear one just kind of looked dumb out here on the rocks. So quite a few body options for this actually. This is a Tinker Time body. I don't know if he still has this one. I assume maybe he does. But it actually fits on here pretty well. I thought it looked good with the wheels also. These tires, I don't know that they're the best rock crawling tires like we're doing here, but if we're going out trailing, rock crawling, that's where the deep woods always shined, and I think these will do okay there. Oh, nice and easy up that pool. Sweet. So I'd actually been asked about if I wanted to review another LCG, air quotes, chassis for the Ascent 18, and I kind of just turned that one down because I thought this one was better. And it's more expensive, but a lot of times companies want to take the stock chassis and make it in carbon fiber and call it LCG. And then you get somebody who does what Orange Crawlers has done here, basically, and just uses what we need to swap a stock truck over, but really puts a custom spin on it and makes it much better. So I think right now, at the moment, if you're looking for performance out of the Ascent 18, this is the best chassis available. Now, I'm gonna have to check with him because it was on eBay, I know, and now it's not on there right now. So I'm gonna have to check on that and see if it's gonna be available soon, but man, this thing drives so good. It's actually looking good with this body too. I'm actually really liking this body. I wish it wasn't cut a little short. See that? This has been on a few different trucks. Not ran a lot. Glued to that. Look at that. That's crazy. Look at this. Guess it's just that passenger rear maybe right there that's holding it just a little bit. Jeez. Oh wow, look at that. Am I gonna slow crawl out of that? Oh my gosh. I thought for sure I was gonna have to punch it when that right rear kind of lost its hook. Wow. Impressive right there. So this is the kind of chassis upgrade I like for a truck like this. You're not really gonna fit the stock battery in there well. You definitely could, probably across the top of the transmission. I'd say maybe that's where it's meant to be, or possibly standing up on the slider. But in my opinion, if you're gonna put the money into a chassis like this to try to get more performance, get you a smaller battery. And that's why, you know, these chassis that are just meant for complete stock stuff and have stock type battery trays and ESC trays and all that, like, it's nice that all that stuff just kind of slides in, but are you really gaining much of anything? Now these tires are a little smaller on this build, and so I'm having to kind of bump that. So I'm definitely going to play around with tire options. I don't know that these are the best tires I've ran, but they're actually doing better than I thought they would. This style tire is actually not great on this kind of rock. See, some of that I think we would just be grabbing and going with a different tire, but it still made that nice. This does work just fine with the stock body. That's why it comes with the screw downs front and rear. You will have to pop a hole in your stock body front and rear to mount it, but it is meant to be a complete swap over for stock body if you want to do that. The control on this thing's so good though with this integration. It's driving really good. Love the looks of it. I may have another one of these bodies. If I do, I may cut it up to fit this because it's just a little short. See that the ESC sticking out down there? That just bugs me. Oh man, that rear was hung out big time. Wow, those tires pulled up that way better than I expected. So this chassis is very belly dragger-ish. Being that it uses stock links, you still hang the belly up quite a bit. It's not one of those like very forward transmission mounted chassis. You know, we're going to a very forward mounted skid and transmission and shorter front links with the high breakover. But this, it drives really good. You just notice that belly hanging up quite a bit still. And if you can bump over it, you're good because you've got that angle. And a slightly larger tire would really help that. And I may go with something a little bit bigger on this. I just really wanted to try these tires out. When I have a truck like my Athos, which is a completely custom SCX24 build with crazy clearance, I like to go with a kind of smaller tire because you've got the clearance already. Drop everything down low and keep your center of gravity as low as possible with crazy clearance. This, we've got good clearance, but not like insane. So maybe we go just a little bit bigger on our tires. But man, the look of these, insane. I've already been down this, so it's nothing new. It's another good climb right here. Look at that. No problem. That's when you know it's working. I don't think these tires will slow crawl this. Getting a little lift on that driver's side. It does that depending on where you hit this rock. If you get it right there, your left will kind of stay down, but it washes you to the right. See that? If you just punch it a little bit, it goes right up it though. See that right there? That's belly dragger-ish. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I say belly dragger-ish. That's just how they drive. My G-Speed is exactly like that. It's one of the most capable trucks ever on pretty much everything, but those sharp breakovers, you just kind of got to have wheel speed and hop over it. But sitting low, it's going to climb, that's for sure. So in the end, I think this is a very good performing chassis. Out of the mainstream of chassis upgrades that are available, I think this is the best one. I know there's some people starting to 3D print some for very cheap now, and I really haven't looked into many options. But this is a really good chassis. The price is the only thing that really hurts it. I've had several people tell me at $100 they just couldn't do it when they paid that for the entire truck. So I think the price is going to hurt it. Me personally, the Ascent 18 is one of those that I enjoy driving so much just as it is. Like I just finally started ditching the stock body that I couldn't personally see me paying $100 for any chassis. So it's not a knock against this. If $100 is not that big a deal to you, then it's well worth it. But for me personally, it would be a little bit out of my price range. So even though I really like this chassis, it performs well. It's not printed, you know, it is like a printed skid and body mounts and stuff, but it is titanium rails. So it's a good kit, just a little bit pricey. I know several people have told me it was a little too much for them, so I think that's the only thing that's really going to hurt it. As far as performance go, I really enjoyed this thing. The build went super smooth and clean. Looks great. We've got a really cool body that we worked on for this. And so I'll be posting a video on that very soon. And you guys let me know what you think about it. I appreciate you sticking around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, hit the like button. That helps more than anything. Peace. Nice. I really didn't think this truck was going to make that. I think that's the first Ascent 18 to go around that like that.